It's currently my second week playing the first Descendant's official launch as of this recording. It's a lot of hours to put into, and there's challenges awaiting for you at every corner. To understand how to progress through the game is very vital because there are many moments in the game you need to be prepared in every aspect, ranging from which character you are using to the 3 weapons you have equipped, and of course, ensuring you are well in terms of modules and character level. My experience and performance with this game's official launch I say is 10 times better compared to what I've done in the beta tests where I had no clue what I was doing. But I have way more to say, so let's get on to today's video. From the start of the game's campaign, where you have to select one of the 3 starter descendants, Fiessa, Lepic, or Ajax, to tag along with Bunny on the mission to retrieve the Ironheart, the same mission you are introduced to the basics of the game and the first Colossi on your journey, Gravewalker, a boss fight sequence in which you are also taught how to grapple onto the Colossi. From that point, I would say you are good to go for a decent amount of progress through the game. Once you are introduced to the first place you unlock, Kingston, a town in ruins, all of those missions are beginner friendly. It's a starter area you unlock, and from a personal experience, there's always players at Kingston. I also wanted to end this point by saying it's great to see a good amount of cutscenes from the starting mission of the game all the way to finishing the missions at Kingston, as it gives Guide a good amount of screen time talking to us and understanding the severity of the conflict throughout the world of Ingress. After Kingston, you are officially introduced to the threat that are the Colossi. The first one being Gravewalker, a void boss that won't serve as much of a challenge, and when looking through the others in the menu, you will see some donning a resemblance to some of the Colossi you face early in the game. The Stairlands, a new place you unlock after defeating Gravewalker, as mentioned in my other video. It bears an opposite appearance to what Kingston has. The Stairlands containing lots of industrial buildings that are not in ruins, and upon exploring more and more missions, you are bound to come across some buildings that can feel vast, as the respective missions prompt you to venture deeper into the structures, while facing threats at every corner. The Stairlands, while it feels vast, the one thing I always remember is how it's also beginner friendly despite the many missions throwing larger and more powerful groups of enemies towards you. And when you are progressing as a new player, you should have a decent number of weapons by this stage in the game, and it's better to find someone to tag along with. The Stairlands also has one particular mission that will serve you well in terms of farming Kuiper shards, going to the Rockfall zone and joining the mission anticipated ambush point. This mission on hard mode will grant you a good amount of Kuiper shards, along with precise code analyzers that will come in handy later on when you are looking for encrypted vaults. The conclusion to the Stairlands that involves a mission called Ammon's Lab Suppression, going into a vast building and defeating the boss Azarok the Loyalist. This was also the final mission of the crossplay beta in 2023, my favorite beta test of the game, in which I had lots of great memories in. But to get back on point, after finishing off with the Stairlands, you are once again faced with another Colossi you must defeat before heading off to Vespers, Stunning Beauty. However, the idea of defeating Stunning Beauty, in my opinion, also serves as a first heads up. You graduated from the easy portions of the game as a new player, and my reason for such an opinion involves what you experience afterwards. To go to Vespers is an area while missions can appear easy, you can easily be cornered or overrun if you aren't paying attention, and the Colossi you are awarded with the task of taking down by the name of Executioner. You will find it will involve dealing with a Colossus frenzy state and attempting to strike its weak point that can be difficult due to its erratic movement, and failure to strike the weak point during its frenzy stage could result in others getting mad at you and accusing you of not knowing how Void Boss gameplay operates. To understand how to properly defeat Colossi in the game is a very vital aspect. While Gravewalker, Stunning Beauty, and Executioner have their fair share of being known as the easy bosses, what I've seen, there's a good portion who find Devourer to be difficult, and from what I observed, it's due to players not understanding they need to equip the proper modules and understanding Devourer's attacks. And another point I want to dive into, when facing off against Devourer, you need to understand how information on each Colossi is written. Looking at destructible areas of a Colossi and looking at attributes they are weak or strong against. For example, when looking at Pyromaniac, you will notice he uses fire-based attacks. So whatever attribute each Colossi casts, it will be written as the strongest attribute they are resistant to. So Pyromaniac is very strong against fire-based attacks. He can also handle lightning-based attacks. But then comes the two attributes he is weak against. As shown, he has some degree of weakness to toxic attacks, but the most important phrase to look at is the very weak part of the image. So for the case of Pyromaniac, he shows major weakness to ice-based attacks. Thus, it is advisable to equip your weapons with the Ice Enhancement module. Equip your Descendant of your choice with the Fire Resistance module, and if you want, you can choose Viessa as your Descendant of your choice for the intercept. And gameplay wise, what does it usually result in? Pyromaniac is the first a good portion will declare difficult to deal with, especially how he operates with whatever attacks he is able to cast, ranging from just annoying hummingbirds and kingfisher drones you must take out, to the sword and chains he will use to in attempt to harm more than one Descendant on the field. But a major type of attack to look out for, one that others also have, is when he leaps up into the air, causing everything to go bright and silent, teleporting everyone into a spot. This is where you need to act fast for a way out, grapple and jump if you can before he lands, because it can result in a lot of damage. And how I approach this idea of defeating Pyromaniac is simply by following the advice of dealing with his drones and the importance of taking out his weak spots. So my most successful attempt as Viessa was the one that worked, but it was risky knowing I was trying to play in a more aggressive style. But thank goodness I used the party voice chat where I was able to tell everyone to be alert as to what was going on. And too bad I forgot to record that run. But the seriousness of understanding how to defeat Pyromaniac should serve as a cautionary tale for the later bosses. But a nice thing to say has to be this one piece of advice. The Walker series Colossi aren't a big deal compared to the others. They are more mobile and dangerous. The designs of all Colossi are also pretty cool, each with its own color schemes with their design, but the idea that we might see more Colossi later down the road, I would say it would be cool to see an Executioner series Colossi that uses ice-based attacks, and a Walker series Colossi that uses fire-based attacks. There's an important piece of lore information, the fact it's unknown where Colossi come from, but with implications they are obviously from another dimension. It would be cool to venture to such an area to see other forms of Colossi and imagine the many surprises around every corner where Colossi are the dominant species, along with how the world map would look if we are given a chance to go in depth on exploring such dimension. To encounter Colossi just from walking around technically is an idea we already saw. Remember the old starting mission from the 2022 beta and of course the 2023 beta? But even before all of that, we saw some trailers that contain moments where some of the characters are taking on Colossi just on the world of Ingress and not in the Void Intercept arena. So to suffice, imagine encountering Colossi just from walking around, but instead of that scenario in Ingress, we encounter them just from visiting their world. But what about borders beyond what we see on the planet we are on? While there's technology that allows everyone to travel just about anywhere, the idea of traveling beyond the known borders is an interesting idea, but I'd imagine it would be another challenge for the devs to not only come up with how other areas would look like, but also design what enemies we will face off against. There are also some things I never expected that I saw at the official launch, changing what was shown in one of the tests. To start off, remember that boss I kept talking about in the desert? When I traveled to that area where the boss is supposed to be located, I never expected that area to have changed in terms of content. In exchange, we do get a cutscene, and later in the White Knight Gulch, we are facing off against another version of the boss. For the new areas, I don't have much to say about about Echo Swamp and Fortress, but when it comes to the White Knight Gulch, I would say it's quite a beautiful place, with its quiet rural appearance with less structures on the surface, with its fair share of large and tall structures, with some eyes and the high detail of some of the structures present. But like the Stairlands, hides a large boss fight area. Then we have Hagios, a field you can unlock that's basically a vast desert with more structures compared to what the Egna Desert has, especially on a larger and taller scale. This one in particular is a field we happen to already see in one of the preview trailers. The most notable feature that separates it from the Egna Desert are the tall structures we see in the distance, and the fact they are not seen clearly and stationed far away really gives off a mysterious kind of feeling on their own. When it comes to progressing through the game, dealing with the respective upgrade mechanics, yes, it's a lot of work when deciding what you are going for. Whether it's gathering materials to unlock a Descendant or a weapon. For example, after unlocking the Thunder Cage, I found myself dedicating a lot of gameplay trying to upgrade it, repeating the cycle of getting the weapon to its max proficiency level in order to assign a socket type, and upgrading the Thunder Cage even more from there, because the Thunder Cage, after all, is the go-to weapon for just about any enemy you encounter. Other than the Thunder Cage, it's up to you when it comes to your choice of the two other weapons you can carry alongside it, because there are many options out there. Although I'd imagine shotguns would fall out of favor quite easily due to their range, and I've gotten used to it at this point. The cycle of deciding what weapon you want, locating the place to get the weapon, getting it up to its max proficiency level, collecting the respective modules, upgrading the modules, assigning a socket, rinse and repeat until the weapon is at its max potential. I would like to close off with a conclusion to this video with some suggestions. If you've been paying attention to what goes on when it comes to Void Boss intercepts, there's a stigma revolving around those who choose Bunny, seen as a poor choice unless you're a really good runner when facing off against Hanged Man. So for the devs, it would be nice to have some sort of checklist you can adjust to prevent players with low-level characters, ensuring everyone in the lobby is using one that's at level 40. The list should also include what characters you want to blacklist as well, and if you want to get more technical, why not add a DPS detection or calculator system so everyone has a better idea of how much damage everyone can output. And of course, for my second suggestion, it would be nice to have a demo replay system, such as the ones you see in games such as CSGO and Halo MCC, for Void Boss intercepts, because when it comes to such game modes, there's a good portion of content creators who make first Descendant videos, and if the idea is to make a tutorial video, it would be beneficial for a replay system in case the others you are queued up with aren't recording. Thus, with a replay system, you can capture moments of good teamwork, such as a good runner avoiding Hanged Man's attacks. Examples of just great teamwork moments in general, you can see the perspective of other players and capture some nice shots moving around as well. My third suggestion simply is all about optimization, because there's a certain amount of moments of frame drops and related crash issues that can still occur to this day. Now, for a fourth suggestion, allow us to rewatch any cutscenes we unlocked, and for any cutscene featuring the current character we have equipped, we should have the option to see our Descendant with the skin applied in these said cutscenes. While the opening mission cutscene to collect the Ironheart, we should stick to the idea of choosing which starter Descendant we want to see. And my final point for anyone who isn't aware, my reason for this suggestion is due to the fact you can only view cutscenes once. For my fifth and final suggestion, for each Colossi info card, there needs to be more information added. For example, for the case of Pyromaniac on the normal difficulty, this card should introduce you to the fact you will face off against his Chains of Fire, Hummingbirds, and Kingfishers, while others, such as Hanged Man, there needs to be a combat advisory section on ensuring teamwork is imperative, or else it could result in failure to the intercept. So that was it, and holy cow did I go through a lot of things talking about void intercepts, with a good amount of time dedicated to talking about many fields you can unlock in the world of Ingress. So what about all of you? How's your first Descendant journey coming along? What suggestions would you give the developers? Which void intercept boss are you currently having trouble with? I have no idea. I also wanted to bring up, as of this video, the most I was able to progress in the game. I managed to defeat Dead Bride on hard mode. So right now I have to deal with Devourer and whatever crazy variations of the Colossi are present in the hard mode difficulty for the Void Intercept game mode. But anyways, my name is Dragon Actual, and thanks for watching. See you next time.